If you liked it, you should have put an Elden Ring on it. Today on. All right. Welcome, everybody, today to Press B to Cancel. My name is Chardmonk. I will be hosting the show. With me, as always, is the ever charismatic Sinistar.
Hey, everybody.
And
Charisma guy!
I didn't expect that. All right. And the all-knowing and effervescent Sick Jake. Sir, hello.
I'll have to look what that word means, but sure. Good to be here.
I think it means airy and light.
Oh, that's not me.
You know what else is airy and light? One of the greatest games to ever be released in the year 2022. Hitting the streets in late February of 2022 came a little-known indie game that nobody has ever played. The 25th, as a matter of fact, from another company that nobody knows about, From Software, with a little name, Elden Ring. Elden Ring. Have you guys heard of this game, Elden Ring? Has anybody even heard of this game, Elden Ring?
I'm here because I want to know what is Elden Ring.
I paid both of these gentlemen to be here tonight because neither of them wanted to talk about this.
That's right.
So this one's fully led by me.
You told me my check's
Elden Ring. Elden Ring is your check's not in the mail. You can come get it. Elden Ring is it's an open world FromSoft game that is basically from the same company that we know that does all the Dark Souls games, as well as Bloodborne, Sekiro, Armor Core, which I know a lot of you guys are fans of. FromSoft did Armor Core. And another little gem that Wolf found. What was it called? It's called like Elden Ring or some noise or something for PlayStation 4. We think it's the successor. We think it's the spiritual successor to Elden Ring because they both have rings in them.
Eternal Ring.
Eternal Ring. Thank you. Yes. Eternal Ring is the precursor to Elden Ring just because rings were involved.
You know what else they did?
For those of you who don't know, what's that?
You know what else From Software did? Cookies and cream. They did cookies and cream. I think it was the PS2. I saw that earlier and I couldn't resist.
Really?
Yeah. All the classics.
Wasn't that a platformer?
I think so, yeah.
Wasn't cookies? Yeah.
I have to know, do you put the cookies in the oven and then it says they died once they go in?
Yeah, we got to find out now. Now we got to play it.
It kind of fades onto the screen in red text.
They died. They baked.
Yeah.
They baked.
They baked. We're not talking about drugs, YouTube.
No, we're not. We are
sorry,
a
YouTube
Minecraft podcast. So let's get some deets about this wonderful Elden Ring for the people out here who don't know anything about Elden Ring and possibly live under rocks or a cave of some kind. Elden Ring is basically an open world third-person RPG. They call it an RPG, but every single TikTok I've watched on it says, "What am I role-playing? The victim?" Yes. Yes, you are. You are playing a victim. You are playing one of the Tarnished, which is apparently a group of people. I don't know if it's a race or if it's just a culture of people that were cast out of a world called the Lands Between. The Lands Between were ruled over by several demigods and had the power of the Elden Ring. Well, when the Elden Ring shattered, it released all of the Tarnishes to come back in to claim their right as Elden Lords. So the premise of the game is you have been allowed back into the worlds between, and your job is to become the Elden Lord. How you do it is really freaking hard.
I got to ask though, so because you just explained the plot far better than the game actually does, because I was always confused with the story in this game. So Tarnished are dead, right? Because that was always a theme in the From Software games, is that you're dead and you're trying to get your life back in a way.
You know what? I'm willing to bet on that. I'm willing to lean on it that you are basically an undead person coming back, because that's why you can keep resurrecting yourself every time you perish. I don't know if that's 100% true, but it sounds like it makes the most sense, especially with the storylines that come from Dark Souls, Bloodborne, all that stuff. Literally, death is it's not. I think I can't pronounce his name here. Miyazaki. We'll just go with that. Said in an interview that he actually did not think as death as a bug, but as something to learn from. Because we die and come back to life all the time. But his view on it was it to not to be something to stifle you, but it's to something for you to learn from and grow from it. So that's why his games are synonymous with the "you died" screen and every single game that he's put up there. I'm pretty sure Armor Core has a "you died" screen on there too.
So it's true to life.
No.
It's I've learned something every time I've died. It's true to life.
I've died so many times that I don't think I'll ever live.
Yeah. If it continues in life, that's how this works, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like Miyazaki took the old adage, death is a part of life, and was like, I'm going to roll with that.
Literally, because you can dodge roll enemies. I like how that looped back around. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectly done.
My check better be in the mail for feeding you that one.
Every time you talk, you lose a digit. I kid. It's in the mail. So, guys, I feel like I'm the only one that has completed it within our nice little trifecta that we have today here. Is that true, and why is that true?
It is true, or well, at least in my case, it's true. For a couple of reasons. First off, I've had kind of I'm not even going to say hit and miss experience with From Software. It's more a miss and miss experience with From Software. I started with Demon Souls on the PS3, and you die in the first 5 minutes, and I was like, that's a good game, thanks, and took it out and put in probably Uncharted or something, right? And then I ended up trying out Dark Souls 2, and once again, Dark Souls hard, and probably made it a little further, got a couple hours in, but I was like, this is brutal and I'm tired, and went and played something else. And so then of course I watched you play through it on your Twitch channel. And so part of it is that it is, and we'll get to difficulty, right? But I'll just say there is a lower level of difficulty compared to Dark Souls. So I definitely can play it, and I've got, I think, 5 or 6 hours in the game. But after watching you play it for, I don't know, 80 to 100 hours, I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this, but do I have that kind of time investment?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the rub that I run into is I always have grandiose designs to play these huge games, and then I get into them and I'm like, well, that's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time.
So, yeah.
Jake, what about your resume, man? Where does your resume lead you into this wonderful journey through the lands between?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even going to play Elden Ring because, similar to Sinistar, for Dark Souls 2 and 3 especially, I bounced off really quickly. I later came back to 2, but for the most part, I bounced off within 5 minutes. So I kind of just felt I was done with From Software's games. But then the reviews of Elden Ring. It's been a long week, guys. The thing with Elden Ring is
not
Elden
Elder
Ring.
Signs are Elder
Totally
Signs
different
are
thing.
Cthulhu things. So.
Yeah.
So, Elder Signs are
same
Cthulhu.
company though.
Same company, sure. So Elden Ring, the reviews were so amazing. Like this game just out of nowhere was slamming sales charts. So I figure I got to try it. And I'm glad I did because I got really quite into it. The open world aspect of this game really grabbed me. And much like you, Chart, I immediately obsessed with it. I was playing it for dozens of hours at a time. It's been a while since I've been this obsessed with a game, especially a Souls game, right? Like I maybe put 25 hours into Dark Souls 2. Elden Ring, I got up to 90 hours. So just exploring even the first zone, I spent maybe 40, I think, in the first zone of Limgrave, because no matter where I went in that zone, there's something new, a new merchant, a new cave, a new boss I didn't realize. Like there's an NPC called Patches in the first zone. I haven't even seen him yet. I've never met him in the game. And apparently he's like near the beginning, but I completely missed it. For me, spending 20, 30 hours in one zone, I didn't even find that guy. So it's just insane to me. So I did put a lot of hours into it. But my problem is, much like many games like this, I took a break. I stopped for about 2 weeks, and then when I went to go back to it, I've lost everything. All the skill I built up with this game, right? All the progress. Yeah, I lost everything completely. Like if you are not on top of your game with the bosses later on, there's no hand holding. And it doesn't matter what magic spells I used, it didn't matter how many levels I leveled up or how much summons I used, it didn't matter. I just couldn't beat this one certain boss. It was a Godskin Apostle, I think his name was, in the tower in Caelid. That's as far as I got. And every time I kind of log in to try and do it again and beat him, I keep dying. And it's at the point now where I've done it like 12 times where I've tried to get back into it and I just can't get in the groove again. I do like the game a lot and I want to go back and finish it. But I'm at the point now where I'll wait 6 months and I'll probably start from the beginning again, as much as that's going to hurt me. So I have not beaten it, but I put in almost 100 hours to this game.
My Bloodborne playthrough.
Yeah, really.
Now, you brought up Patches. Patches has a little bit of a tie to other games, right?
Yes, Patches actually, fun fact, Patches is in basically, I don't think he's in Sekiro, and if he is, I didn't find him, but he is literally in every Dark Souls game. I found him in Bloodborne as a giant spider, and he is also in Elden Ring. So he's kind of a running thing, but he does the same thing in every game where you talk to him and he talks to you real nicely, and then he tricks you. And then you either unlock a whole new area or you have to fight a boss that you didn't expect to fight or something like that. I'm going to flat out tell you guys my first playthrough of Elden Ring, well, my only playthrough of Elden Ring, I killed him the minute I saw him. I'm 5 or 6 games in and done with his garbage. I'm done.
I was about to ask.
It's Patches. I stabbed him and was done. So
I was about to ask on your next FromSoft game if you see Patches, are you just gonna like shiv?
I don't know. I didn't know he was in Bloodborne, and I found him in Bloodborne, and I was like, I'll let him live. He is a giant spider, but I'll let him live.
You're letting the giant spider live, but the guy in a cave, no, man, skewer him.
No.
How does that work?
No, I don't trust people that live in caves named Patches.
But he trusts spiders that are people.
He lived in an academy, okay? He was amongst learned ooze blobs that are walking around, throwing vials of garbage at me. That's all true. All of that is true, actually. It's a true distinction of what's going on. So, with your guys' first initial startup, all these games start exactly the same way, right? You start up in an area, in a building of some kind. You wander outside. You're then enthralled by the enchantment that is the surroundings that you're in, and you take 5 minutes to go, huh, this is beautiful, right?
Hell of a
Then
view.
you proceed
stunning.
forward and you see writing on the ground, right? Like any Souls game. And you read such clever adages such as 2 fingers, but whole. Or things that are up against cliffs that say jump.
Yeah, leap
When you
of faith.
clearly should not be doing that.
Right.
But I digress.
Can you hold 1 sec?
So
though?
you move forward. Yo,
When you
hit me.
say secret ahead or a jump here, before you even see that vista, you're in the cave in the beginning. The tutorial area is in a pit that you literally have to go into. And when I first came up to that pit, there's text on the floor. It says secret ahead. I almost ignored it thinking, no, I know Souls games. I know this is a troll. I almost didn't do it. And then I thought, maybe I should. They wouldn't kill you that quickly, or they wouldn't kill you in the beginning of the game. And I'm glad I did, because that's what the tutorial is. And you could totally miss the tutorial if you think that text is a troll. I thought that was hilarious.
That's actually very true, yeah.
I read an article that said that one of the patches, they changed it so that there's more steering toward the tutorial, because a lot of people, I think, had the same response that you did.
Whoa, I didn't go through it. I missed the whole thing. But I mean, I was fresh off of Dark Souls 3, so it wasn't like I was going in totally blind like you guys were. I missed the whole. I had no idea that was down there. I, like you, thought it was death, and I went, no, I've played too many of these games the last 3 months. We're gonna just go right out that door. And sure enough, and that's where the joke for me comes from, because the tutorial's down there and you fight things in the tutorial because it teaches you how to guard, it teaches you how to parry, attack, blah, blah, blah. I never did that. So I went straight into the noise, which was fine. Not a whole lot changed between the two games. But you go into, you go through the Coliseum, you go up this ladder or up this elevator. Thank you. And you go out this door and you see the lands between. And I guarantee every human with eyes that function all said the same thing.
It's gorgeous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
Absolutely stunning. You're led to an NPC that then tells you that you are maidenless and insults you, which is whatever. That's fine. Then you go, huzzah, let's go on an adventure. And you walk down a hill and you immediately get completely destroyed by the first boss of the game, which is the first enemy I encountered, the Tree Sentinel.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Being a fan of From Software and the developers of that literally they wanted, and now this is my total opinion. This doesn't mean any, there's may not even merit behind it, but I believed that they put this guy here so that you could think about how to get around it, because it is an open world game. And all of us that have played any of these Soulsborne games know that when you run into a boss, you got to take it on.
Mm.
You don't have to. You don't have to. You can
Yeah.
say nope and peace out and roll out and go wherever you want. And I think that was kind of their signature way, but also kind of sliding in that you don't have to fight this dude right off the bat. And of course, all of us spent, well, at least myself, I can't say for everybody in here, at least spent 6 hours fighting that frickin' dude, and only to not, or find a way to cheese him, which I did because I can't
saw
move
that.
forward until the completion is talking into me. What about you guys? What was your experience walking in and being like, hey, and then having this giant dude come and kick your ass for
Well,
whoever alone was?
I have the advantage of having watched you go through that, right? And so I knew that the Tree Sentinel was coming up. And first off, I want to call out, you say this is their way of kind of like, showing you that this is an open world and you can avoid it. I'm going to start calling it FromSoft's irrational game design. They force you into doing like a new methodology or a different way of doing it via irrational game design, right? Here's the thing that's going to murder you until you realize I can go around it.
Yes.
So yeah, my first playthrough, I saw the Tree Sentinel and I basically hid until I could get into that little church area. Right. I just kind of kept skirting around him. And finally I was like, okay, I can get in there. I can talk to, it's a vendor or something in there.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a merchant in there.
Yeah. And so I ended up, I had the advantage of watching you go through that and watching you cheese it, which I thought was hilarious.
You got to do what you got to do to get through.
Talk to somebody that was like, use a bow. And so you're like, oh, okay, I need to
use a bow.
I was a samurai build. They gave me a bow to start the game, so I used it.
That's right.
I tried using a bow and I ran out of arrows in like 15 minutes. I'm out of arrows and like, well, there we go. So much like you, I did want to try and beat it. And what threw me off is I died instantly the first time. Yeah. But about 4 or 5 tries, I was actually doing pretty good, right? He's not that hard. He is hard, but not as hard as the rest of the game. But I was doing okay with it. And I thought, you know what? Maybe it is beatable and maybe I'll get something really great for beating him so early. I knew I could pass him. I can keep going, but I felt I could do it. And I'm glad I tried, because I would try and then I'd run back to the church, maybe talk to the merchant. I would do all that stuff. And it was then where I accidentally, by happen chance, stumbled upon Ranny, who's there. Is that how you say your name? Ranny? The Blue Witch.
Yes.
The
Blue Witch, yes.
If I wasn't sitting there grinding the Tree Sentinel for probably an hour, I would have completely missed her, and I would have missed one of the most important items in the game if I didn't do that grinding. So that's why I think, in a way, it is a tutorial for Elden Ring that was put there deliberately to show you that if you did grind it, your reward is a critical item if you hang out that church long enough. So,
and that's the thing about it, is that they do sneak in. It feels like they sneak in a lot of stuff that if you're not open to like exploring and checking things out, you're going to pass right by it. And the item that you pick up is the summoning bell. It's the thing that allows you to summon the things to come and help you. Not only cooperative people. I think that's the furled fingers and whatnot. But this bell allows you to summon the ghosts that come and assist you. And I'll tell you what, I leaned on those things throughout the entire game once I got that bell and figured out how to work them.
Oh, huge. Right. Wolves are MVP, right?
I don't know, man. You get Black Knife Titch, then you're ready to rock. And the mimic one's good anyways, but I digress. People are gonna be like, "What are you even talking about?" So that now, so there's another thing that I'm also kind of bothered by was during the playthrough, and I'm gonna try not to spoil anything for anybody who is interested in playing this. And I would say this to even the most person that is absolutely no thank you, I want nothing to do with it, to at least spin it up and just give it a try. It really is. Jake, like I said, Jake was the same way about it. Sinstar not so much, but Jake was very much like, no, I want nothing to do with this. I don't like hard games, blah 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 blah. But he plays Mega Man 1, which is a very difficult game. So I don't know why people
Does he?
say that I don't
Does he?
like playing hard games, but they play
Oh,
retro.
all right. I like hard games. I just don't like games that waste your time. And at times, Dark Souls waste your time, especially when you get a little overconfident and you grab maybe one too many souls on you and you die and you lose everything and you realize you just look at your hands. Chard, you look at your hands and you're just like, I spent 2 hours grinding mobs for souls and I overstepped my comfort zone. I got ganked by a group of mobs in a hole. I lost everything. I lost 2 hours of my time. I don't get that time back. At least with Elden Ring, thankfully, not so much of a problem because it's easier to get the souls, right? But when it doesn't respect your time, that's when I don't like games. But this game respects your time for the most part.
I
I'm
feel like
surprised
we
you
need.
could look at your hands. I can't see my hands when my face are buried in them.
I was going to say, I feel like this is now a never-ending story meme. They look like such strong hands.
Yes. Yes. Why?
What have I done? I've played Elden Ring. They look like such strong hands.
I thought I could carry the world on my shoulders, but I can't. But anywho, I digress. Spin this up, give it a shot, but we'll talk more about what I think you should do about it later on. The problem with streaming it for everybody and having a lot of the people that are hanging out with us tonight or watching this or have listened to us, watched us do it. There are so many surprises in this game that it always just felt like no matter what corner you turn into, something was gonna come and get you. Something you would just be cruising through a lake, killing crabs, farming, because this game actually introduced a farming and oh, help me out here, like an item creation system that
Oh,
they didn't have
crafting
before,
system,
where you can make
yes.
potions. Crafting
Which you could
system, thank
also
you.
miss,
Like,
actually. You could almost completely bypass crafting by accident if you're not observant, which is wild to me.
you can
Right?
literally play the game with none of the extra stuff that they introduced to the game.
Yeah.
You can miss all of it easily, which is another thing. Going back, I'm going to back up just a bit, and we talked about it during the open world episode last week. That FromSoft games reward you for exploring. And I'm not saying that a lot of the stuff was super hidden, but it is easy to miss. But if you were
Yeah.
just casually looking for stuff, you will stumble upon all the things that you need to make this game simple. Now, I didn't really utilize the crafting myself because, like you said, and not to diss on anybody that likes using crafting in games, but to me, I'm not investing my time into making that stuff unless it's going to absolutely help me do what I need to do. A lot of the stuff I didn't find was very useful to me, or I'm just too lazy to do it. That's probably more likely to do it. I'm just too lazy and impatient enough to build the stuff. That's truth. But everywhere in this game, there's a surprise. Like I said, you're getting crafting items. You're beating stuff up to get souls, not souls, but they're called we called them LDs, but they're like
Right.
fates and ruins. They're ruins that you pick
Runes,
up.
yeah.
But everybody's going to continue to call them souls because this literally looks like Dark Souls 4. It really does, but so much better than anything that I have played up to this point, and it's mostly because of the freedom. But you just cruising along, and a friggin' dragon comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
There's no cue, there's no warning, there's no nothing. There's a dragon on my ass. That's in
Well,
the first area. Like
I was gonna
first freaking
say,
start out.
you brought up that you get rewarded for exploration, but you also get punished for exploration.
In certain aspects, yes, you do.
Yeah.
But I think it's
Yeah.
like if you don't go into this nook and cranny, you won't find all the good shit. And if you're
Oh,
just
sure.
running around, pardon me, you just run around in the open, you're gonna find something that makes you go into that nook and cranny to get away from the big thing that's out in the open.
Can I say one of the surprises, the biggest surprise for me, probably in the early game? And this is the early game, right? It's in the first zone. And there's like a underground area. I get down there. There's a chest. Great. Chests are always good. I open it, and it's like a message pops up on the screen. Teleportation trap. Like, what? What do you mean teleportation trap? And then I look at my map and a loading screen, and I'm in a mine somewhere way across the map. You're put into such a difficult zone, so far away. You're nowhere near a spawn point, and you're stuck there. And it got to the point where I couldn't get anywhere. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to die and hopefully go back to my spawn point. But you don't. You're stuck in the mine, the hardest damn place at that level, and you can't do nothing but just slowly, repeatedly bang your head against the mine wall until you get out of there. That was insane to me, and I can't believe the game does that. And it's not just once. There's several of those, and every time it happened to me, I'm just like, damn it, every time. The game
there's
crazy.
a reason the run meme was put into my channel, and it was because of that stupid cave.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do. You just run. Find your way out and run.
Are these the caves with the absolutely evil shrimp?
Yes. They're like crystalline. Yes, they're shrimpy things. Yeah.
Yeah, and they it looks like they're shooting silk at you, but it murders you in one shot. Yeah, that one. It took forever to go back and find that place and level up and go beat it. And the boss in that dungeon is one of the worst creatures I've ever fought in any Souls game. It's terrible. But
and then this game's like, I'll just send you there for fun. Here you go.
I love
Hello, new players.
I love it. That stuff makes me fucking die. I love that stuff. I think it's hilarious. But when you start out in the game and you first open the map and you're looking at the map, you're like, okay, this game seems relatively big size, but a lot of people were bragging about like it's enormous, and it seems like. But when you first start the game, you're like, okay, it's maybe maybe, and then you just keep going, and what they show you is not how it ends by any stretch of the imagination. The game is enormous, and easily takes. Like I said, I think we fought everything or came damn near fight everything at 145 hours. And that's with dying on repeat because there's a lot of deaths involved in that game.
I would say you like 90+% of that game. Like
I feel like
you
it.
did. Yeah.
I feel like we came close. We took on a lot of the harder bosses and stuff too. And maybe we shadowed some of the stuff that we might have missed.
What level were you when you finished it?
You remember? I don't remember. I want to say I might have been in the 200s. Maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Either upper hundreds or lower 200s. The thing about Souls games, and this is relative with all of them that I've played, I don't notice what level I am. I'm so focused on my attributes that I don't even think about what the overall level is. And sometimes I forget that there's even like you're level 29 because every time you get enough to put something into something, that gives you a level. Right. But I'm like, I need to get my arcane up. I need to do this to wield this sword. I need to get these weapons. I need to do all this stuff. So I might have been in the upper hundreds, lower 200s, probably by the time I finished.
I was reading a thing yesterday, actually, that came up in one of my feeds about a player who purposefully tried to collect 1 billion runes because apparently, like they thought that you could get to 1 billion. And they were thoroughly disappointed because you can get to like 999,999,999. And then it's like nothing more will populate. But it talked about how I think the level cap is something like 741. Something ridiculous.
You would never need that though.
Or 714 or something.
Yeah. You wouldn't need it, but I mean, if people are playing new game pluses, then that stuff's just going to keep on rolling. If you think of it that way.
I gotta wonder if that guy Let Me Solo Her is up in that range, right?
He might be, or he just might be that good. I watched him; he doesn't take a hit, and it's not about like a lot of those guys. They go in there, they have minimal life, and they just know how to parry. They just know how to do it. I mean, heck, there were people that were playing this game doing no hit runs while we were still in the middle of the damn thing, and it probably had been out for like less than a month. Yeah. And there's people out there posting their no-hit runs of every boss on Elden Ring, and you're like, I ain't got that kind of time.
Like naked with a buckler every single time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
we should maybe since I brought up Let Me Solo Her, should we talk about Melina?
I'm still debating on if she's the hardest boss in the game we fought.
maybe we should give a spoiler warning at this point.
There is a spoiler warning in this. There is going to be discussion about one of the tougher bosses. That is it's not a secret boss because she's very well known. She's on the cover. She's all over the place. But there might be a little spoiler warning here. So if anybody wants to not hear about the fight with Melina,
and she's optional too.
She is optional. She is optional.
Yeah, but if you don't beat her, then what do you miss out on though?
You miss out on some cool stuff. She's got some cool weaponry and some cool spells that you can pick up. So another thing about Elden Ring is when, like Souls, when you beat something, you would get their soul, and you can take their soul. I think Demon Souls might have been the only. No, Bloodborne doesn't do this, but a lot of the other games, I think Demon Souls does do this. You can take a boss's soul to somebody in the main non-attack area or the common ground area, and you can either turn it into a weapon or an item or a spell of some kind. This does the same thing, but every boss you beat, they're called remembrances. So you take their remembrance back to the lady that translates the two fingers. Here, that's a whole nother thing. We gotta talk about the two fingers.
We'll get to that.
Point. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
and you can get like maybe the weapon they were wielding that was really cool, or some kind of cool spell that they were using against you, and utilize it now, or their armor. Well, actually, you get their armor naturally when you beat them.
Oh,
you don't have to use the remembrance for that. Yeah, you have to buy it, but they unlock after you defeat a lot of those bosses. So Radahn's, Melina's, and a bunch of other ones, even the Rainy, the Blue Moon Witch that we fight, you can get her outfit too. So you miss out on a really cool spell that has this wonderful effect. That's the blood. It's not the blood loss effect. It's the God. What is the blood poison that they have called there? Scarlet Rot.
Rot.
Yeah. Scarlet Rot, which is another topic we'll discuss briefly here in a minute. And then her really quick sword. So, spoiler alert about Melina. If you don't want to hear anything about Melina and you want to be surprised and live under that rock still, or be shocked when you fight it yourself,
click mute for the next 3 minutes, or go away and come back or something. Yeah.
Or mute us. I'll give you thumbs up when we're done talking about it so you can visualize it. So Melina, you present yourself. It's the red-haired girl with the helmet with the wings on the back of it. She has a prosthetic arm. There's a whole nother quest line that kind of leads you to getting to Melina, but I won't get into detail because that's a pretty lengthy quest line. You go in, she's fast, she's quick as hell. She's very difficult to kind of counter her timing, but she has knockback, which is huge. Every time you strike her with a weapon, she'll stutter for the most part. If she's in the middle of a windup, then she can some of the windups she'll fight through, but a lot of the time you can stagger her out of a windup. But and this is the worst thing that FromSoft has ever done with a boss of any kind. Every time she hits you or your mimic of any kind or shadow, she gets health back. She gets her life back. She has this thing called, I believe it's called the Swan Dance. I want to call it, it's the bird dance of some kind. And it's this very elaborate spoon move, hit a lot of times thing. If she hits you and you get sucked into that and you don't die, she'll get basically her entire life back if she's halfway down. So you fight her, you avoid getting hit. But again, the staggering is huge, especially if you have a weapon like the Moonveil or Rivers of Blood, which is the two best weapons, in my opinion, as well as most of the community, because they're broken as hell to use in the game. So you beat her first form, then there's a second form.
Well, I was gonna say, like, one of the things I noticed when you went and fought her is your strategy worked very well for her first phase. Like, your first time through, I was like, he's gonna one-shot this. Because first phase, like, bam, done. I was like, way to go, Chard. And then
no, second phase. Second phase begins with the lady unfurling her wings and floating above you. The first phase starts off with you trying to figure out the timing of where she is going to impale you. If you do not get out of the way and you manage to dodge the attack, there is an AoE effect that not only will take your life down, but will give you Scarlet Rot, which then takes your life down even more. Then you have to get through that the rest of the fight, plus all of her other BS moves, plus her getting her life back every time she strikes you. It is a nightmare. But
is her dive attack like the Crucible Knights fight? Because I struggled with the Crucible Knight for quite a bit, but is her dive like that? So it's like the Crucible
Yes,
Knight kind of like
where
the
it comes up and
training
then
of
it
how
hits
that
you.
animation works. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what the game does too.
Very
Is like
similar.
earlier bosses have very similar move sets, but the later bosses
Mhm.
string it all together in a combo. But you do get some not handholding, training, I guess, on some of those attacks and animations.
It's very true. With that, you can dodge it, but then there's with the Crucible Knights, you just roll out of the way,
Right.
and then you can kind of get your footing back. But with her, you have to roll and then get out or keep rolling because that AOE effect will destroy you. Um, I'll go ahead and thumbs up because we won't talk about Melina anymore or spoil anything else about that. But
Well, I was
what do
going
you
to
got to say?
say, and this is not a spoiler. This is not a spoiler, so your thumbs up is still valid. But do you remember how many times you fought her? Because I know that we ran a poll, and I think we ran the poll through like 40 attempts, and then we stopped running the poll.
I stopped, and I think
Wow.
we ended at like 70 attempts. I think it took me 70 attempts to get her down. It took me at least 2-3 hour streams to do it, and then I think I did it on my birthday. I did it on my birthday stream. We got her beat, and that's the 24th of April. So I'd been playing Elden Ring from February 25th to April 24th, and still had the rest of the game to go. We played that game straight.
I remember you reaching out to me in Discord and saying, offline, you're like, dude, I totally got her. I got her to, like, I had to quit because I didn't want to finish her off, but I got her.
Kill her.
We're gonna get her. Like, I remember that. You were so excited about it.
Because I tested out I got the Rivers of Blood and I finally leveled it up to where it needed to be useful. And I went in and I used that and it annihilated her. But I literally was in the middle of the fight offline practicing this move, and I had to like hard close the game because she was like this close to dying. And I hadn't done that, I would have been like, oh, everybody would have missed it. I didn't record it. I didn't have anything going. I was just trying to practice to see if I can get the timing down and get all that stuff. I mean, the hours that we streamed it don't account for the hours I took practicing different bosses and stuff too.
Right. All right.
So you had to.
We don't want to go too far into this because we may end up back in spoiler territory.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fair enough.
Go ahead.
You did mention that you basically got a new weapon, and that was a game changer for you. How many instances were like that in the game where a new weapon is what you needed to get further into the game? Because I thought my impression was you could beat Elden Ring with literally any weapon in the game if you upgraded enough. Although some weapons were certainly better than others.
Right. A lot of the community will say that I might have cheesed it, and we've had this discussion about the game gives you something to use it. It's not necessarily cheesing it because you're using what the game has given you, but that's neither here nor there. I got the first weapon that I picked up that was a big weapon that my artist and good friend November helped me find was the Moonveil. The Moonveil was a katana that had this really cool attack where it was basically you slash and it would shoot out like a little arc either forward, sideways, or up and down. I used that sword pretty much religiously through my playthrough until I got to the Mountain of Giants, which is towards the end of the game, and that's where you find Rivers of Blood is a little bit later on in that area. I ran with Moonveil. I was going to run the whole game with Moonveil. I had no intentions of changing into the weapon. We had that thing fully upgraded and ready to go. Your stats affect the weapons too. So you can have a long sword or a bastard sword or your starting sword, but if you have enough poured into your stats and that weapon is leveled up, it'll do killer damage. It just won't have anything special about it that has a stagger or blood loss or something attached to it. Rivers of Blood has a 3-time X attack that staggers. It causes blood drainage and blood loss on buildup. So blood loss, for those of you who don't know, blood loss is a buildup mechanic that if you hit something enough, you'll see a bar of like blood droplets. As soon as that thing fills up, a percentage of your life immediately gets sucked away, and it's a big chunk. And then you can keep doing that, and it does the same thing with bosses and enemies and stuff like that. You'll see
it
I love
staggers
the blood effects in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it staggers too. I love the blood effects in this game because you'll see that over exaggerated splash of blood, and you'll see half the life like go all the way down. I love that stuff. So it's got a lot of cheesing stats on it. I believe they nerfed it a couple times in some of the updates they went through. The Sword of Flame and Fire, which is a faith build sword. They
I
nerfed
used
that a couple times too.
Yeah, so I stumbled upon finding
when
that. I stumbled upon finding it, and I respect my build to use it, because that's one of the ones where you need faith and you need intelligence to use it properly, because it has two abilities, which when I first found it was mind-blowing to me, that it's a weapon that casts spells for you, and both are amazing. The faith-based spell is like a wave of fire, and I was using that. I would walk into a room full of skeletons, I would use it, and it was very moderately priced in terms of stamina use or magic use, and it would clear a room. And then for bosses, you can use the intelligence skill, which is this beam of energy that just destroys bosses. Look at huge amounts of health. Up to that point, I was using the Wing Reaper mostly for the blood effect. And like you, I'm like, bleeding is amazing in this game. And I thought, well, but when I got that sword of fire and flame, game changer. And I was rocking through so much content with that weapon. And then they patched and nerfed it. And I was screwed. They cut the damage, I feel like, to 30%. And that was just enough where I was like, I was mad struggling after that. And I was so upset. I get why they patched it, because it was definitely an overpowered weapon. But I love that sword before it was patched. It was amazing.
I never got a chance to run that one. I did find it. We did pick it up, and I was going to start a faith build, and then they were like, "No, we're nerfing this bad boy." And I went, "All right, well, I'll keep running with this mage/katana build." So, and speaking of builds, we can go ahead and go on this unless anybody else has something they want to cover off of that topic.
Well, I was going to bring up just a couple points. The first one is we touched on it a little bit, but we talked in the last episode about certain intellectual property going from its content to eventually it ends up being open world. That's what happened with Elden Ring. How do you feel about how they handled that? Because I mean, I kind of know, I think I know your answer, but I want to talk about, so many properties you're like, well, okay, Fallout 4 is subpar compared to Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, right? Because it's much more of that. Like it's that boilerplate, this quest is the same as the last quest, this quest. Right. So, how about FromSoft going full open world?
The thing about this version of open world from FromSoft is that I don't feel forced to do anything other than that there's the 5 or 6 or 7 demigods that you need to fight to beat the game to unlock the end of the game or get to the final boss or whatever. That's pretty much what they lay out for you. And that's the other thing that Jake mentioned, was that there's not a lot of discussion going into this game of what is going on. And that's the FromSoft thing. The lore is what you want it to be. And then you go on YouTube and you can find all these people that have all this lore. And you're like, where did you find any of this stuff? Yeah. And apparently it's all in items that you find throughout the game. It's all written text.
Descriptions.
I was going to say they went and read every single piece, right?
Yeah, they patched it all together and they're like, oh yeah, duh. And I'm like, who the hell is this person? It's like I'm watching Game of Thrones, but I don't know who any of these people are. So with them going open world and giving me the ability to do whatever I want, no one asked me. I mean, there's the side missions, but there's like that with Dark Souls. You find NPCs out in the world and you talk to them and you can progress their story. But you're not forced to progress their story. You're not told to do this. There's all these caves out there that we can explore. And again, we see a lot. It's not perfect because it's a huge game and there's a lot that needs to go in there. So we see a lot of reskinning of bosses and a lot of, this is the same thing we fought in the last cave, whatever. There's like 100-something caves out there.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not going to get nitpicky about a reskinned boss that I might have fought earlier. I'm not going to get that mad about it. I don't feel forced to do anything. Like I felt like we ran around for hours and did nothing. But I didn't also with like Red Dead Redemption, where there's too much to do outside of the main story. There feels like there's just enough to do outside of the main story. And then I go, oh, we gotta steer back over here. And I feel like I can right the ship quicker than I can in say Red Dead, because when I'm running around in Red Dead, I get shiny raccoon moments instantaneously. I see a shiny thing and I go, ooh, what's that? And then my plan to go finish the storyline just went into a 4 hours downward spiral of me chasing snakes out in the middle of the desert because some guy was shooting birds with a gun that caught my attention. There's none of that out there. There's another settlement that needs your help. There's none of that. It is literally, hey, there's a cave over here. Yo, there's going to be something good in there. And that's the other thing, is that there is a lot of those games that give you those things either give you money or experience, but that's it. You don't get anything really cool out of it.
Right.
You get some kind of funds or you get to level up, which is great. That's fine.
It's the boilerplate reward. It's the
Exactly.
boilerplate reward. Yeah.
Elden Ring allows me not only to level up and see some cool stuff, but I could get a great weapon out of it. I can get a great summon out of it. I can get great armor out of it. And you find a bunch of stuff in there. It's not like you're just finding the one thing. You go into the cave system and you find all this cool stuff. You find some spells, you find this, that, and the other. So you're always excited. Like, what am I going to get out of this fight? Oh, I mean, and I'm not to say that things were disappointing. Oh, why did I get some plants to summon? I don't want plants to summon, whatever. But now I know where they're at. So that's fine. Anything else is going to be better. It's going to be, there's only going up from here,
Yeah.
I found a vendor in one place. I'm like, what the heck? They hide a vendor who sells magic to you in like a cave. Again, something that's so great and useful, you could totally miss. So you're definitely rewarded with exploring, 100%.
You're like, Mr. Vendor, do you understand the value of foot traffic?
Yeah. Location. Why are you in this deadly area?
Wonder. And honestly, there's a lot of vendors that if you talk to them, they're like, I hate being here, but I can't leave. Please buy something so I can get out. Like they kind of tongue in cheek a lot of that stuff where they're like, yeah, we know this is a dumb place for the guy to be, so we're going to make it sound like he's forced to be here and he wants to leave. So help him get out. Then you feel bad. You're like, yes, please take all my ruins and get the hell out of this hellhole.
They joke. There's a joke on the absurdity.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that there's still kind of poke at themselves about the you dying and all that stuff. I think that's kind of cool. So that's my opinion about Elden Ring going into an open world direction, is that nobody has forced me to do anything. I have literally stepped into the world and there's one job to do, and I'm going to look around and find things to help me get it done, instead of I'm in the middle of something, these 8 guys need me to do something for them that might help me out, other than just give me an OCD that I missed a bunch of stuff. And I'll tell you what, I get very OCD with Dark Souls 3 and all those games trying to find all the NPCs, but I'll keep playing and totally forget about it. And then I'll see it on YouTube or I'll read it in a forum and I'll be like, damn it. I don't think about it while I'm playing. I think about it's all hindsight. It's all like, damn it. Right. And I did that a lot with Elden Ring, where I was like, man, I can't get that now because I did 40 missions in front of that. Well, I'll have to remember that the next time we play.
But in Elden Ring, you can always go back, and that's the great thing. You can always come back to something because it's so open world. Like I'll tell you why I love this game's open world compared to Dark Souls 2, 3, is if you come across something that you struggle with, I don't have to spend 10 hours until I get good and do it. I can take a break and go somewhere else. And I could spend dozens of hours doing something else. Like there was one, Margit, whatever he's called, the guy with the staff early on. Yeah, I struggled with him. So after 20 tries, I'm like, you know what? I'll come back later. And I went and found something. And you just find this cave system or this dungeon. And there's some of them are quite expansive. And you feel like you're worthwhile spending time elsewhere. And then when you're ready, you come back after you level up. That freedom to take a break and go somewhere else and still have fun. Even when I was grinding, I was still exploring and finding cool stuff. Like you said, new spells, new items, and all that kind of stuff. It felt worthwhile to do that and take a break. I didn't feel forced to go in a direction. Like I know ultimately what the goal was, and that's fine, but I could go there at my own pace. You can't do that in the other Souls games, right? When you get a bottleneck with a boss you have to beat that boss. And I think, if I'm not wrong, the other Souls games, enemies stop respawning after a point. So you're actually limited in the levels you can gain in the Souls game. That's crazy to me. When in Elden Ring, there's nothing like that. And that's why this game is, I don't want to say accessible, but it's more accessible for like more players and a wider audience because you can tackle it in different ways at your own pace. And you don't get that in the other games.
Right.
And that's another thing that I liked about it was the build system. You got builds in all the other Soulsborne games. You can do whatever you want to build and start out how your things was. I started out as a samurai, like a lot of people did, because that was kind of an unheard of trait. So we thought that was cool. You know what I did halfway through the game? I went full caster. I was like, this is cool. Let's try something else. And I've never played a caster before. So I was like, well, let's try it out. Let's see what works. And it allowed me to do that. And I beat the game with it in the middle of the game, being like, I don't want to play this anymore. Let's try something else. And you can do the respec, and it usually, like in a lot of the Souls games that I remember, Bloodborne doesn't even have a respec system. Once you're committed, you're committed. they give you so many different. You have to get a certain item to use the respec. You have to beat a boss to unlock it, and then you have to get a certain item to respec with it. And I was like, they're gonna give you like 3 respecs to do
Yeah.
this with. So I better be very meticulous about doing it. No, F that. I had like 11 respec seeds at the end of the game that I could have any time gone back and that was the running joke between Sinistar and I, because every time I'd get at a boss and I couldn't beat it, he would scream respect in the chat. I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking respect. I will take care of this myself.
Well, you
But
know, it's because I'm so pro FromSoft. I was trying to help
yeah,
you
you're
out.
the greatest FromSoft player I've ever seen.
The
I
expert, you
always
could
go
say.
I always go face tank. I always face tank. I always find the biggest sword that I can use, and that's my thing. And we did something that I have never done and went more Dex caster build, and it was fun. It was
And
different, but it was definitely fun.
the thing that I loved is you could see the tendency to face tank even when you were Dex caster. Like it would all of a sudden
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah.
that's when we put in the greed command, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I would still try and take things on without I'd dodge and duck and weave, but I'd still try and put all my I'm like, bro, you got stuff that can attack from a distance, man. Back up.
Right.
Back up. And I wouldn't. I'd be like, no, I'm still, I got a staff in my hand. It's like lying lifeless in my dead arm because I'm using this other weapon to kill things with, and I'm like, why can't I get past this item? Because you're not a strength build, idiot. Back up and use the other stuff. And once we finally got some good spells and I finally got the idea of how it was supposed to operate,
Yeah,
we were cruising. We
for
drilled
sure.
one dude with the Comet Azura spell and killed him in one shot halfway through his life. It was incredible.
Yeah,
So
that drill spell was great and
no, drill
visually
him,
fantastic. Visually
drill him.
fantastic as well. Yeah. Well, I
But
was
Yeah, I
also
think
going to ask. Oh, go ahead,
oh shoot,
Jake.
we
Jake,
almost made
go.
it. We almost made it.
almost had it. We almost had it. It's okay. So I was just gonna say for my build, I was starting out with I'm like, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna be like Geralt from The Witcher. I'm gonna do a Witcher build. So I'm gonna use one-headed big ass swords. I'm gonna wear light armor. I'm gonna be dodge rolling like a fiend all over the place. And I'm gonna use crafting, because crafting lets you make explodable pots and various pots. So that's how I started playing the game. And I was doing okay. But then, what was it I came across? I came across the idea of the weapon arts, I think they're called. Like it's a very customizable system, right? Not just leveling up any weapon in the game, but you can also apply an art to it, which gives a special ability. But it also affects the scaling, right? Because in this game, like all Souls games, there's stat scaling for certain weapons. Some weapons are better with strength, some with dex. But there's items that you can or attachments you can put in an item that or a weapon that increases scaling for different stats or nerfs a complete stat. So I was finding the ones that let you increase dex scaling, and I went dex as well. And then I found one, I think it was Sacred Blade, which scales a weapon with faith. So then I realized I don't even need to make a build with strength or dex. I could play like a battle mage or a battle priest. I could totally go into combat with any weapon I want. All I need is just enough strength and dex to wield it, and then I have Sacred Blade on there, and I can go nuts with faith scaling. So I was doing that for most of the game, and then I came across the scythes or scythes, whatever they call them. The Winged Reaper is what I found, and I found another one as well. So for the longest while, I was dual wielding these Reapers, and I was killing things. Dual wielding is insane, especially when both of them do bleeding, and you have one of them with bleeding on top of it, so it stacks. Just a whole lot of fun. So I mean, I had faith really super high, so I had some spells, but what I found with the faith casting was not as flashy as arcane casting, and it wasn't as effective. Even when I had faith super high, a lot of the spells were very slow and didn't do nearly enough damage. But there was healing and buffing and stuff, but I really didn't use it very much. So when I saw you playing Chard, the caster build, I kept telling myself, damn, I should have went intelligence. I should have went arcane, because that stuff, the moon spell or the comet spell you can do is just mind-blowing, and it does so much more damage than what I was doing with faith. But I ultimately was going through the faith build, and I probably would have finished the game dual wielding sides with faith is probably what I would have done.
That's funny because I watched people do the faith build and I was like, damn it.
Yeah,
That's a cool build. I should have done that build right there. But again, faith strength is such a common thing. I mean, I've not used faith before. Like I said, I always do the strength and a little dex in my stuff, but it would be so much similar to what we've already done that I don't feel like I would have been changing it at all. I'd be like, I'm still
Yeah.
a big guy with a big sword smashing stuff, and then I can heal myself from time to time. But there's stuff like they call it a blood dex build, where you get there, and the weapons arts were called Ashes of War, and I wish I'd used more of those, honestly. But since I use the Rivers of Blood and Moonveil, you can't change their stats, that they are enchanted weapons that run with that. But they have one that's called the Blood Dex build, and it's all based on blood attributes. There's a art of war called seppuku that you stab yourself and you'll lose life when you pull your sword out, but it buffs your sword with blood power. And then there's Moog, which is one of the other like secret bosses that you fight later. And he's got a bunch of different blood spells that he has, and you can take those blood spells, and they're like, it's crazy. Like it rains blood on people, then it like catches on fire. Like there's all this crazy stuff you can do with the arcane and the blood stuff that I'm like, I want to play it again. Like I'm just talking about it right now. It's giving me the itch. It's a great game.
And so one of those games where you could do multiple builds, multiple playthroughs, and I still feel the game's large enough. I could play it 3 times and not find everything I did in the first playthrough. Sorry, Sinistar, go ahead.
Right. No,
well,
it's like going to say the replay.
I was going to say alongside like New Game Plus, New Game Plus One, because there's like the ridiculous New Game Plus system in the FromSoft games, where it's like New Game Plus 9 or something ridiculous, right? Aside from that, replay value of even just starting new and doing a different build, right?
I started over. I did a replay on my own, like I just kind of fired it back up just to see what was up, and I reset all my stats, but I kept Rivers of Blood and a couple other stats because I wanted to do the faith strength thing. So the idea was you wipe your stats, you start over again, and then you start building upon your base character instead of going in with all the stats you already have. So you can then transfer all your stuff over. So I had the Sword of Faith and Flame because I found it and I still had it in my inventory. So I pulled that bad boy out. And I'm like, okay, you take on the very first boss, which is the crawly guy that kills you and then sends you into the pit if you die. And I'm fighting it and I'm doing well because I just played the game. I just beat the final boss, which was way harder than this guy is. So I'm dodging and weaving and whatnot. I'm doing no damage at all. And I'm getting irritated. So I switched back to Rivers of Blood because I'm impatient. I killed it in 2 hits. It was done. So the thing that's supposed to kill you and send you to the next area and introduce you to the front world's land between, I killed it. I was like, okay, so I'm walking around. Well, where the hell do I go now? Like, what am I supposed to do? So I walk out, the door opens up, right? And I see a little shiny item to go pick up. So I'm bebopping over. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just grab this item. No, the ground comes out from under me and I fall and die. So
that's Final Destination right there.
That's their resolution to getting you into the next area to start the game up is by throwing you down a hole that you don't expect. So
good job. You beat the thing that was supposed to do it. So here, screw you.
Now you're gonna die naturally. Well, there's no place else to go. You can't go anywhere else. So
do you get something for beating that spider thing?
It's like a cliff. What's it? You beat it. Yeah, you can beat it.
But do you get something from it though? Is there a reward for beating it?
Yeah, you get its shield and its sword that it first starts out with, which
nice.
are both faith-based weapons. They're pretty cool, especially for the starting area. But I think they're like you're like coming out of the castle, your base stats, and you're like, yeah, so I need 50 faith to wield this, even to put it on. Okay, so I'll see this in the next 20 goddamn hours. Cool, just put this away in my backpack. So I spun that thing right back up and was ready to dive right back in and go at it again. That's how much fun I had with it. And if it weren't for my dedication to my stream, we'd be playing it still. I'd still be playing it right now because it's so much fun and it's so damn cool.
So I tell you what I'm going to do. There's a mod on Nexus for Elden Ring, and it's an item randomizer, right? Because that was the one thing with this game. I said to myself, what if I could play it and all the weapons and spells are in different areas? It's like a roguelike in a way, although obviously the dungeons and areas don't change. So it randomizes, it scrams all the items in the game. I really want to try this mod. It's not perfect. It's still very early. It does things like smithing stones. It randomizes the location of smithing stones or the item they come out of. So you can kind of, if the bad seed, screw yourself out of certain critical items. But if that gets fixed, and I can use that, so when I'm starting a new area and I could get Rivers of Blood on the first body, or I could get a smithing stone and a major chest. Like that would be awesome. I can't wait to try the game again with that mod. I'm just gonna give it a few more months.
Give me a boss randomizer, and I am 100% in. An item boss randomizer. Can you imagine walking out, leaving the cathedral, and looking out in the world and seeing Melina running around out in the middle where the stupid tree sentinel is supposed to be? You're like,
Use a bow.
well, this is a total failure. Excellent. Oh, great.
Or
But at least
or
you're
the
not
very
fighting her in a cave. I've got the whole world to fight her in now. So
or the very
that's kind
first
of an
boss
improvement.
is the Elden Beast.
Oh yeah, right. That thing's huge. What's it doing out in the middle of the world here? Crap. Imagine that. And then like one of the stupid like loitering knights is the final boss of the game. 2 hits and he's donezo. Yeah,
Right.
that would be fun. I think that
Yeah.
would be cool as hell to check that out. Is there anything else that you guys wanna ask, or is there anything else you would like to talk about this
Well,
wonderful
I was
game?
going to bring up. I wanted to throw a warning to all my trypophobia friends.
Oh yeah.
Avoid Caled. Avoid Caled. I'm just going to throw that
Yeah,
out.
there's also Sinistar is a big fan of poison swamps
Mm,
and areas that are death incarnate. There is an area and it's called Kaled, and Kaled is I think it's the third area you kind of go to. It's right next door to Lingrave, which is the starting the
Yeah.
beginning area. And you can go to Kaled. You can go to Kaled. You can go anywhere the hell you want. And
My
I
second
talked about
zone,
it in the open
actually.
world one.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go to Stormvale to fight Godric or Margot.
right.
You can go right past both of them and go. You can go wherever the hell you want to start this game out. You even go to the city of Lindell if you if you so deem it necessary to do so. But Kaled is the place where the blood rot. So the story is Melina, which we've talked about numerous times in here. She is the queen of the blood rot. She is
Mhm.
she brought blood rot to the world. I can't say it. There was a major battle between her and General Radon, who is this very large individual and a very tiny horse. And I got a
Right.
kind of a funny
I remember
story.
this.
I got a funny story to go with that. We'll explain Radon's thing here too. It's a kind of a cool feature. He's one of the few bosses that has this feature. There was a big war between the two of them to see who was the strongest or whatever, some kind of combatant. And she beat him because she infected him with blood rot, which blood rot basically eats you from the inside out. It's a
Right.
poison that basically rots you away to you're nothing but a shell of your former self, and you go insane and whatever.
It's Drano.
It's Drano. It's exactly what it
Exactly.
is. It's just
Yeah.
red,
Freaking
not blue.
Drano. Yeah. Mhm.
So his entire realm of Kaled, which used to be beautiful and nice and all this other stuff, is now a trypophobia nightmare of sequential circles that are stacked upon each
Ugh,
other that look like
little
weird
little holes.
things
Little
you would
holes.
little holes. Yeah, little holes.
Yeah.
My wife has the same kind of fear about it. Um, so yeah, tryptophobia warning. If you're walking around Kaled, don't look at the plants too much because you will kind of get the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
So to fight Radon in Kaled, after you navigate the blood scarlet rot infested swamps and all the garbage that's in there, that place is a nightmare. But it's a really cool land like environment. It's a cool environment, but it's a hell of a place to get through. There's a festival that's going on, and you meet up with all these other warriors in Radon's castle, and then you go in to fight Radon at this festival, and you can summon NPCs to come and assist you in this all-out war. Now, this dude is enormous, and he has a stupid little horse that he rides with.
Little horse.
It's a
It's the
little like you
tiniest.
wouldn't even know it's there unless you were on top of him, and you're like, dude, he's riding a horse, and the horse looks like sickly and dying, like it
It's
looks messed up.
it's that like whatever that Looney Tunes character where it's like the big guy on the little horse,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
uh-huh.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Well, they actually have lore behind this whole thing, so I'm going to tell you it. It's actually kind of cool. So Radon has gravitational magic. That's one of his powers that he has. He summons stones and he can lift shit up and throw it at you. He gets gravitational things that attach to his swords and make it stronger. It's a really cool kind of fight. You have this whole area that you're playing with, and he's running around on this little horse. Well, as his horse has been with him since he was a child. So I'm hearing. Now you can quote me if I'm wrong on this. It's fine. I don't care. But this is what I was told and what I heard about. He's had this horse since he was a kid. So he's had this horse forever. He learned the gravitational magic so he can continue to ride this horse even in its old age so that he wouldn't crush it while he was on it. So somebody thought of that, thought of like how this is going to work with this character, because you just look at it and you're like, it's a goofy looking horse with a giant dude on top of it. But it turns out they were like, well, we're gonna make a little cool little side story for this guy too to kind of go with it. And it's silly and it sounds funny, but the what gets me is the thought process is somebody actually going out and thinking about, we're not just creating this character for him to go run at you and he's got these stats and he looks this way because of this. There's a story behind it. There's a reason behind it. And I was like, that's neat. That's neat that there's some thought put into why this guy's riding a super tiny horse
Little
in this
Sebastian, really.
battlefield and why he can still do his thing. So it's cool. Yeah, it's little Sebastian. He's riding little Sebastian.
Yeah.
Can I talk about that fight for a second? Because that was my first pain point, really, with Radon, because just the opening, right? You it's cool. There's a party going on. You can recruit everybody. There's a living jar for some reason. It's the first time I saw that weird thing. But you enter the zone and you cross across his island, and it's a massive field. Like the scale is huge, and you can see Radon in the distance, and then you see this flash of light, and it comes spiraling towards you. And it hits you, and half your life is gone, and you're flat in your ass. And you can ride your mount in this zone. Doesn't matter if you get hit; you're knocked right off your damn horse. The first 5, no, you know what? Let's be real. The first 12 tries of this boss, I couldn't even get past the first barrier because he kept shooting at me, and I couldn't dodge fast enough. That was the fight where I said, "I'm done." I put my controller down. I got off my couch. I went to my office, sat at my PC, spun the game up with a proper controller, wired the lowest latency possible, and I played on my computer from then on forward. Because you can't suffer any frames of lag when you're fighting that boss, because you need to dodge perfectly multiple times. And that's what that fight, ultimately for me to beat it, I was summoning 2 players to help me. I felt so stupid after. Summoning 2 players to help me. We'd go in there, and my one role in that fight was to dodge roll like son of a gun, summon all the NPCs, and just run circles doing it over and over again. That's all I did. I only hit Radon maybe twice the entire fight. I let the NPCs do it for me because that son of a bitch kept killing me. But it's just you
don't feel bad. Don't feel bad how you do that. I did the same damn thing.
It's insane.
So don't feel bad. That's how that fight's designed. Yeah. I've seen people do it with no help. I don't know how they do it. And I know people that are like, yeah, I did it in like 2 tries, no problem. And that's the other thing about it is that there's these people out there that just my buddy who's here is Gibson. He and I have been talking about, he doesn't play a lot of Dark Souls. He went in, and everybody knows, most of you guys know, the Nameless King is the hardest boss fight I have fought in a Souls game. I've beaten him once, and I have yet to do it again. He is impossible to me. I don't know how to time his timing. He's too fast. And I'm playing attached to everything. I played it on PC. I played it on PlayStation 4. No latency. Controllers plugged in. Everything. Trying to get past this guy. Cannot do it. He did it in like, I want to say 2 shots. And he was like, yeah, it's easy. But then...
But then he turned around. Then he turned around and formatted his machine. So
then then he went full Gibson, and you never go full Gibson. But then there's this, and it's the opposite angle where there's Yarm. Yarm is the giant flame giant that you fight in Dark Souls 3, and they give you a weapon to beat him. There's another guy in Elden Ring that's the same way, where they give you a weapon to beat him, or basically help you get to at least the second phase. This sword that you get in Dark Souls 3, you find it in the same damn chamber as fighting the boss. You don't have to go hunt it down. It's available to you. And then you got to do some quick menuing, and then you pick it up, and then it's basically called the Giant Killer, I believe, and it has a special attack that takes like 4 hits and it kills him. I did that in 2 tries. It's easy to me. He hates that fight. He hates it. He vehemently tells me how terrible and how stupid that fight is. And I'm like, bro, they give you what you need to do it. Like, I don't get it, but it's just the way people's brains work. It's just how these games are designed. People go in there, let me solo her, for example, can kick the hell out of Melina without any problems. Well, it takes me 72 frickin' times to figure out a strategy that requires an OP weapon that's broken as hell, and a mimic that looks just like me with the same exact broken weapon using it on the boss. I really do. I just like how FromSoft gives you the ability to approach it in all kinds of different forms, and anybody can do. I mean, anybody can beat these games. Get good, get whatever. It doesn't matter. if you're just
feel like you're calling
hard-headed
me out.
enough to get past the fact that this game is designed to piss you off, and you can just let it not piss you, just let it go and just be like, okay, I'm gonna try again. I got through it by thinking of it as it's a retro game to me. It's just like Mega Man. It's just like all those retro games. It's like freaking Shatterhand, like last night. I suck at it. I'm terrible at them. But if I keep going, I will eventually get good enough to beat it. Battletoads. I beat Battletoads, but it took me forever to do it. You just have to be charred-headed to get through it. And just understand that these games are designed to teach you that dying is supposed to be like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that again. You know,
So
let's try something different.
It's funny you say that because Darkest Dungeon taught me to embrace death.
Yeah.
And I still get pissed at Elden Ring.
There's permadeath in Darkest Dungeon, right?
Oh yeah. Like the whole premise in Darkest Dungeon is don't get attached to your characters.
Wow.
The
Elden Ring is kind of like that, but then you keep coming back to life.
Well, the thing with Elden Ring that's different than the Souls games is when you die, what have you really lost, right? In the other games, if you lost souls, I felt it was a big problem because it's a finite resource. You can't grind forever. In Elden Ring, if you lose a few thousand souls, you've lost some time, but it's easy to get it again, right? You're never worried about souls. My thing with Elden Ring was when I was entering a dungeon for the first time, or looked like a dungeon or a cave, or I was going to fight a boss, the first thing I did was look at my rune count, and if I was close to a level, I would stop, go grind for a few minutes, and spend them. And I went in fresh with nothing on me. So if I died, I didn't care. Because the great thing about this game is, and I don't know if Souls did this, it's not the signs of grace, but there's like the statues that you respawn at. You can't level up at them, but they're respawn points.
The armless ladies or whatever.
Yeah. So if you die in a boss fight, you don't have to corpse run back really that far. Sometimes you do, but for the most part, you're only a minute away, if that. So I felt like as long as you kept your rune count low when you knew a boss was coming, and they telegraph that so easily. So if you know you're going to go to boss, spend your runes, go there fresh with nothing on you. And if you die, who cares? You're not really losing anything.
Right.
Every death is an attempt to get better and practice. And that's what it is. And that's another reason why this game is so good. It's so much better than the other Souls games. It really is. And it's killing me because I feel like we've barely scratched the surface on all the great stuff in this game. We haven't even talked about Two Fingers or Rennie or the endings, and we probably don't have time to, but there's so much in this game. It's so expansive, and the lore, as obscure as it is still so great. It's so mysterious in a way that I just love. Like, we haven't even talked about Dung Eater. If I say Dung Eater and you're like, what the hell? But he's a really interesting character, and there's a side story with him, and we didn't even talk about it. And it's just insane how much there is in this game. It's such a fantastic game. It really is. I really wish I had 50 more hours to beat it. At least.
Tell you what, let's come back in a year when you guys finally beat it, and then we can talk about it some more.
Are they doing DLC for this game?
Sisyphean game number 2.
If they don't do DLC for this game, I would be shocked. It would surprise the hell out of me if they didn't some kind of DLC to this game.
I know that we sometimes try to capture questions in chat. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, we are live streaming on YouTube. I do want to bring up a good question that Gibson posed. I'll read it out and then I'll let whoever wants to answer it. But does Dark Souls die and the new era of Souls go to Elden Ring, or does it evolve into something higher than Elden Ring?
You want to try first, Jake, and I'll take the second one?
Yeah, I was going to say, is this what Dark Souls 4 is going to be? I don't know. I like how FromSoft is not afraid to take inspiration from their formula that works, but they always do new things with it, right? Sekiro and Bloodborne are two games that are Souls games, but they feel quite a bit different than Elden Ring. The open world aspect, I like a lot. I don't necessarily need to see open world in a Dark Souls 4, but I hope they have the mentality of how can we make Dark Souls 4 still difficult, because that's a thing, but maybe a little bit appeal to the wider audience. Give people other ways of getting through fights. Bring back magic. Bring back the summons like in Elden Ring. I know there's similar aspects of that in Souls games, but Elden Ring really has options for your builds. Give people the option to have all that stuff. If I can summon 2 players and summons and I can do a boss, then that gives me options. So I'm not banging my head against the wall. That bottleneck of bosses in past games is the breaker for me. Give me ways around that in Dark Souls 4 and I'll be happy. Open world is amazing, and I love it. I don't want to know how many hours of work this company put into making this game, though, because the world is so huge and so detailed. They can't do that for every game they release, right? Armored Core, when that comes out, is not going to look like this. It can't. They just don't have the resources to make such a huge game, right? It's like Breath of the Wild. They can't make Breath of the Wild in a year. They're going to need like 10 years to make a game like this. So I don't think we're going to see Dark Souls 4 like this. I see them going back to that linear method, but maybe some of the accessibility and options for players is brought over.
Okay.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum than Jake. I would prefer my Dark Souls to be the same way as the other ones. I want it linear. I want the bosses to be tough. You can give me extra things to help me out if you want, or you can allow me to explore and find the weapons. That I do like about Elden Ring, but I don't want it to be open world. I think Dark Souls is so rooted in its Dark Souls is really rooted in its lore, its beautiful architecture, its cool boss design, and its really intricate fighting style. Same thing as Sekiro, and I'm finding with Bloodborne, very very different but similar kind of styles. I think Elden Ring needs to be Elden Ring 2 if we ever see the day that comes out, that Elden Ring 2 can keep on to its open world format. We find a more decrepit lands between. The new Elden Lord has gone insane, which was your old character, or something like that, and you have to go and free the world. That would be cool as heck. But Dark Souls 4 needs to be linear. I need to be bottlenecked by bosses. I need to throw my controller on my desk and walk away for a few minutes and then come back and say, well, you know what insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We're going to do this again for another 70 goddamn tries until we're done with the stupid boss. I like that. I like the challenge because it challenges me to be better at these types of games.
Nice.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Like one last thing.
Hit me, baby.
One last thing.
Time.
I just want to show this. So I saw today that somebody, I mean, it's not a full game, but somebody took Elden Ring and they did a Game Boy demake.
I don't want to forget this. Yeah.
So I'm going to show it real quick because we have to see this. Elden Ring on the Game Boy, obviously fan game, obviously it's janky, but guys, it's on itch, it's free, and it's a 2-button game, 1-button sword like Zelda, 1 button does the roll, and you guys can't see it right now, but on the stream they're seeing gameplay of it. It's wild to see somebody putting the dedication of taking Elden Ring and doing a fan game like this, and they have a bunch of dialogue from all the NPCs are in here. There's a boss fight with Margit later on. It's so fantastic to play, and it's free. But the really cool thing is it's actually a Game Boy game that works on real hardware. If you're one of those few that has an analog pocket, or if you have a Mister, this will work on those systems. And it's just wild to me that this is a thing. I'm going to put a link to this game in the description. Yeah, and it works on your emulators like RetroArch.
It does. I tested it. It does work on RetroArch.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm looking at it. I got it up over here, and it like not only does it look like Final Fantasy Adventure, it does look like the beginning area of Elden Ring. It really, I mean, as 2D and over top view as it can be, I'm looking at it going, that's what the starting area actually. They did a great job of it.
Yeah.
this little beetle thing, this thing's fighting.
Well, isn't that supposed to be Margit?
This is Margit right here. Yeah, like they did the Margit fight, and it's hard too. Like I died a couple times to this guy, just like the real thing. But this is the fan dedication that is just wild to me that Elden Ring has brought forth, right? Like you have randomizer mods, you have a demake, you have people exploring the lore of Elden Ring in so much detail in the wikis, people breaking down everything about this game. I really do hope we get DLC, and I really hope we get an Elden Ring 2 because I love what they've done with this.
Me too.
Awesome.
And it goes without saying, and I know I gush about it, and I'm the Soulsborne player of the podcast, but this game truly is one of the best games I have seen. It came out complete. It didn't come out with 800 million patches that needed to repair it.
Yeah.
There were some buggy issues, but there's always going to be a bug here and there. But
sure,
for the most part, it was a complete version. It was like Tiny Tina or Terrible Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Both came out complete with no crazy DLC to fix the game. These people have have taken care of their customer and have released a product that is not only fun and exciting, but it is completed. And now we're like sitting here going, when can we get a little bit more? When can we get some DLC? Anything? Give me like 5 more bosses to fight. And when they do release DLC, it's not going to be like, oh, we give you 2 extra bosses. It's going to be like 2 extra bosses and like 20 new dungeons to go through and new weapons and whatnot.
Yeah.
So when it's done, it's going to be done right, and it's going to be really good, I think. Guys, this has been a fantastic discussion, and I'm really glad to have your guys' opinion and let me gush a little bit about a non-retro game for a little while. I promise we'll go more in a retro direction from this point on until we talk about things like Gary Oldman and peanut butter sandwiches and macaroni
bidets.
with chicken strips.
And bidets.
And bidets, yes.
And bidets.
I'm sure
not to spoil, not going to give any spoilers away for next week, but we are getting back to retro next week.
We are. It's going to be a real fun episode.
Actually, for that, and we might as well, if you don't mind me just giving off where you can listen to Press B. So Press B to Cancel is an audio podcast. You can find us on Apple and Google Podcasts. You can find us on Stitcher, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, all these places, as well as live on YouTube on Friday evenings at 5:30 PST or 8:30 Eastern. I want to bring this up as well. If you go to our website, pressbtocancel.com, you'll find a link to our Discord and also our socials like Twitter. And I'm bringing this up because next week we're actually going to do an episode regarding Mega Man. We're going to rank some Mega Man games. So what I've asked the community is go to our Discord, go to our Twitter, and just let us know your top 3 favorite Mega Man games. I don't care what generation. Just give me your top 3 and let me know why it isn't Mega Man DOS. But I want your top 3. We're going to compile a list for this episode.
I think we are trying to restrict it to platformers, right?
So what I'm doing is just asking for 3 in general, and then we'll divide it up in episodes later. So I want to hear the things.
Cool.
So
very cool.
True. I mean, there's a plethora of those out there, so that'll be good to go. Yeah. Speaking of plethoras, guys, are there a plethora of locations that they can locate you at Sinistar? Where can we find your beautiful face at?
Always right. Well, not always. Most weeks right here. I'm also on Twitter, Sinistar77, and on Twitch, Sinistar77. Yeah.
And Sick Jake, where can they see that beloved Punim?
Well, I am Sick Jake, and you can find my effervescent attitude on Twitter and occasionally on Twitch, SICJAKE.
I'm never going to be able to host a game ever again. This has been a great one. This has been a great one shot, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
How about you effervescence host of Glory, Chardmonk? Where can we find you?
You can find me on the internet. I am on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Chardmonk. You will see me on there Thursdays through Sundays. You can hit me up on Twitter. You can hit me up on Instagram, TikTok, and you will more than likely see me here every Friday. Again, 5:30 Pacific Standard, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Guys, thank you so much. This has been fun. Thank you, everybody, for coming and listening, talking about a very, very cool game. If you have any interest in try it, please. And I hope this podcast helped drive you in that direction to go pick it up, give it a spin, or if you put it down, give it another shot and see what you think. This has been Press B to Cancel. If you liked it, you should have put a ring on it.
And a commando?
I'm trying to be Wolf.
Stalwart attempt. Stalwart attempt.
Nice try.